your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Hello there. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of And I Quote, the live weekly show where we bring in a special guest. We find out more about them and find out what projects they have coming down the line. Joining us on the show this week is a professional inker, storyteller extraordinaire. She's a member of the wonderful team over there at SilverLine Comics. Please welcome Barb Kaalberg. Barb, how you doing?
Hey, everybody.
Well, thank you very much for being here, Barb. We do appreciate it. If you have any questions for our guests during the course of this program, leave them in the live chat, drop them in the comments section. Our producers are going to be monitoring it as we go throughout the course of the program. We'll save some time at the end to take your live questions. But in the meantime, Barb, once again, thanks for being with us. So first things first, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of your favorite movies or TV series growing up?
Oh, wow. Well, you got to remember that I'm a little bit older. So when I was really young, my favorite was Bonanza because I was a total Western geek. And I was raised in the state of John Wayne, who was Marion Morrison from Somerset, Iowa. So I don't know if a lot of people know that, but Westerns were my big thing and my parents loved them too. But somewhere along the way, I ditched the Westerns and went to anything science fiction, fantasy related. So I remember the original Batman series with Burt Ward and Mr. West. And as cheesy as it was, I was absolutely hooked. There was another one, Dark Shadows, when I was a child, and I was forbidden to watch it. So, of course, I would sneak down and try to watch it when the parents weren't looking. I don't know, when I was a teenager, I used to like to watch anything fantasy related. I used to watch the old Buck Rogers, that stupid robot that he had. What is it? Twibby or something? Tweaky? Something like that. I can't remember it. I watched the original I watched the original Star Wars movies when I was in high school. That was senior year in high school. The original Star Wars came out, went to the movies, blew me away. There was nothing like that had ever been done before. The magnitude of the CGI on that was astonishing. I mean, at that time, it was very, very minuscule CGI. It was more glass plate paintings and models and stuff like that, but there was just enough, and the cinematography on that was so astounding. It set the bar for everything that came after that. And I just remember sitting in the theater and just being so blown away by the cinematography on that I was open-mouthed the entire time. But of course I was a Star Wars geek after that. Star Trek, I remember watching the original Star Trek. I was a Spock fan. As far as comics are concerned, when I was 14, I got a job in a pharmacy. And I was a pharmacy. I worked behind a soda fountain as a soda jerk. And I waited on customers. But one of my jobs was to take the old comic books off of the old spinner racks that they had. And the ones that didn't sell, you're supposed to rip the cover off. And then the owner or the proprietor would send those covers back to wherever they ordered from. And they would get credit, so many cents on the dollars for the unsold comics. And that credit would go against their next purchase. Wow. And then you were supposed to throw away the body of the books. And so he'd say, like, make sure you put them on the dumpster. I'm like, okay. And I'd open my trunk and I'd throw them all into my trunk. And then I would take them home.
There you go.
And I'd read those. No covers, but that didn't matter. It was the interiors that I really wanted. and I was a huge fan of the Warlord series. Travis Morgan, Mike Grell's book. And I don't know if you remember that character, but he basically had white hair and ran around. He was an Air Force pilot that got catapulted into some bizarre barbarian world. Huh. And he ran around with a skull cod piece and nothing else. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so there. So, I mean, I was a 14-year-old girl, and you got to realize that girls can be just as shallow as men when it comes to comic book characters. And so men aren't the only ones out there looking for a little thrill.
My goodness. All right. So there's that character. Any other favorite characters or favorite comic books growing up, or any other characters?
I was a fan of, believe it or not, Little Abner. Because Little Abner looked just like my father. I mean, he could have been the human stand-in for Little Abner, so I was a fan of that. I was a fan of Steve Canyon, because that was a comic strip, Sunday comic strip. Mm-hmm. I like Batman. I like Superman. Robin was my favorite doing that. And any type of superhero or fantasy movie that came along, I ate it all up. I was a huge reader from the age of 5. So I would read every fantasy series, sword and sorcery series that came down the pike. And unbelievably, I did not discover the Lord of the Rings series until I was in college, which is a latecomer for most people. And unfortunately, I discovered it during finals week, which was not good.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's a stressful time for anybody.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, once I get hooked in a book, I can't put it down, and that paid to my finals grades.
Oh boy.
My studying went out the window, and I had to read the book.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but I'm assuming at the end of the day, you ended up enjoying reading the Lord of the Rings series.
Oh yeah, and I think the movie adaptations are absolutely mind-blowing. I like them. A lot of people's like, oh, they left out so much. I think you had to leave. I mean, even so, they were really, really, really long movies. There's no way that you could possibly get everything in those books in those movies. I think he did a really good job of covering the high points, even though he threw in a couple of gratuitous female characters to even out the heavy male, dominated cast.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to realize that when Lord of the Rings was written, it was way back when women were basically damsels in distress. And I realize that when you read a book written in a certain time period, you have to take that into account. So when I understand that in this day and age, Peter Jackson had to balance it out because it was unfairly heavy on the male side. So he threw in Liv Tyler, which was never a character in the original books.
Wow. I was not aware of that because unfortunately, this is going to disappoint some of our fans out there. I have not read the Lord of the Rings books because I'm sorry. My only experience has been through the trilogy, and then I watched the first Hobbit film and I got bored out of my mind. So sorry, Hobbit trilogy fans, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy is solid. It's pretty good. My favorite installment is, of course, the Fellowship of the Ring because that's where it all started. And plus, that movie still blows my mind to this day. And by the way, Lord of the Rings turns a healthy 20 years old this year, ladies and gentlemen. The movie series turns 20 in December of 2021. So
just
fasten your seatbelts.
Even older than I already am.
It's okay. It's okay. Age is just a number. I'm just saying. For me personally, Fellowship of the Ring blows my mind. And I didn't know that Liv Tyler wasn't originally a character because Liv Tyler in the first film, when they had that scene on the bridge, and she tells, Aragorn why she gave him her immortality necklace. I'm like, that's love right there. Like, if that's not the true meaning of what LOVE is, I don't know what is. So, sorry. Didn't mean to go off the beaten path there, but hey, it still counts because it's J.R.R. Tolkien. We're giving you credit, brother. So,
there you go.
Good movie series. I unfortunately have not read the books. Sorry, Barb.
Oh, well, you're going to have to rectify that. Put it on your bucket list of things to do. Probably should. I have a friend of mine who's a very big time reader. If she has
the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and you know that person, you know who you are, let us know in the comments, because I'm curious if you have that or not. Anyway, anything else you'd like to share about the greatness that is Lord of the Rings?
No. I mean, yes, I have a tendency to like books where, and I mean, I know all the feminists out there are just going to crucify me for this, but I like a male protagonist because I want to fall in love a little bit with the hero. And I think everybody, to a certain extent, wants to fall in love with the hero or heroine of their stories, and to be able to root for them. And that's not to say that I don't like women protagonists. I do, but I want a dashing hero. That's gonna get me a lot of hate mail, but I've always kind of steered myself towards fantasy novels or superhero movies that have strong male protagonists. I'm a huge fan of the Iron Man movies with Robert Downey Jr.
RDJ, yep.
Yeah. I mean,
who really is Tony Stark? I mean, he isn't even RDJ. To me, he's always going to be Tony Stark because that's just who he is.
Absolutely. I mean, he fit that character so perfectly. It was just tailor-made for him. And I mean, I was already an Iron Man fan to begin with, but when he brought it to the screen, I was just completely hooked. I like characters that are a little bit of the antithesis of the perfect hero. I don't like Superman. He's too much of a Boy Scout for me. He's too perfect.
That's a common comment or statement or argument that people make about my favorite. Me personally, he's my number one of all time. So you're kind of hurting me there a little bit, Barb. No, it's okay. It's cool. Hey, you can like what you like. Celebrate it. Doesn't matter.
I like just a touch of the bad boy, you know.
All good. I mean, Superman's my number one, but that doesn't mean, you know, I can like both. I mean, I can like multiple characters from multiple comic book what do you call it? Comic book companies or whatever, or distributors, whatever. So I like Captain America because Chris Evans made him famous for me. I love Captain America because of Chris Evans. He killed it. And then you got The Incredible Hulk. I didn't really become a Hulk fan until, I know some people may not like this movie, but I do. 2008, not 2003's, 2008's The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton, despite the creative differences he had behind closed doors. I really like The Incredible Hulk. I think that's an underrated comic book movie in my humble professional opinion.
I thought it was a good one. I thought he did a good job. I like the new version better, but
of course.
I also have a really deep like of Chris Hemsworth as Thor. I think, you know, anybody coming after him is going to have a hard time filling his rather muscular shoes. And Loki is done to perfection. That one, I'm looking forward to that one as a Netflix. Was it Netflix?
Disney Plus series.
Disney Plus. I'm sorry.
You know, AKA the House of Mouse that owns everything.
God, is that the truth these days?
My goodness, they own way too much.
I don't know. They're on their way to becoming a monopoly as far as I'm concerned.
It's kind of scary. But yeah, Loki's coming up fairly soon. Falcon and Winter Soldier just wrapped up.
I like that one a lot.
That was a great series.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. Sebastian Stan does a really good job as the Winter Soldier. Bucky. Yep. Yeah. The sad thing is, the sad thing to see is these characters that you get so invested in, and they start to age out of their characters, and then they have to bring somebody new in to replace them or kill them off. The Spider-Man movies, I think Tom Holland is the quintessential. I think he killed it. The two previous movies were good, but he, I think, really epitomized the whole geekiness of the Spider-Man character. So I think he's my epitome, my quintessential Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. I mean, I did like his first appearance within the MCU being in Civil War. That's a heck of an intro for him. That was a heck of an intro. It really was, especially when he's making all those references to how young he is and how everyone else around him is, you know, maybe getting a little long in the tooth. It's like, you have a metal arm? That's so cool. And he's like, do you remember that movie from the 80s with the giant robots and they tie the rope around? Because he's referring to Empire Strikes Back. And I'm thinking, that's, we all understood that
old
reference.
Movie.
Yeah, remember that really old movie with robots?
that I saw in the first viewing.
Oh, gee whiz. I grew up watching that on VHS back in 95, and then the special editions came out in 97. That was my first time seeing the original trilogy on the big screen. Granted, different generations here on screen, ladies and gentlemen. But
yes,
still a lot of fun to
he's
see those
probably young
babies in the
enough to be my
theater.
son.
Yeah. But, yeah. Still a lot of fun to see him in the theater, though, no matter what. You were saying something about your son? I'm sorry?
I said, you're probably young enough to be my son.
Oh, boy.
Speaking of, that was a very cool thing about the Star Wars series, was that I lived the first time through with the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my son was about 5 years old in the 80s, I started him watching the VHS tapes. It was VHS back then. And he became totally enamored with Star Wars. And then as the new ones began to come out, we would see them together.
Yes.
And he basically grew up doing Star Wars with me. My husband and my daughter, no interest at all in them. So it became a mother-son type of tradition. And each new movie that would come out, we would go together. Well, then he grew up. He's in the Air Force, 17 years now.
Wow.
And a master sergeant.
Oh, my goodness.
But every single Star Wars movie that has come out, it was, Mom, are we going to go? And it's like, oh, you still want to go with your old mother. And then, and he goes, I'm going to get us tickets. We're going to go. And then he got married. And then it was like, and she was a Star Wars fan too. So I'm thinking, okay, well, he's got somebody else to take now. No, it still comes around. He goes, I'm getting 3 tickets, one for Brittany, one for you, and one for me. And I was like, oh, we still go. It's still a mom and son tradition to go to all Star Wars movies. So that's one of my fond memories of that.
That is absolutely wonderful. And to your son, thank you for your service. That is truly amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, he's a good kid. Good kid.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great tradition. So I take it you saw one of the last ones before, Earth kind of shut down. I take it you all saw Rise of Skywalker together. Is that?
Yep. We sure did. And then he has the Disney Plus, because he's got kids, my grandkids. He's got Disney Plus for the grandkids. And so when The Mandalorian came on, he says, here's my password. Because you can have like more than one TV on the account. And
that's right.
So I was able to watch The Mandalorian. So that was his gift to me again, son to mother. He gave me his Disney Plus password so I can watch The Mandalorian. And I certainly hope they continue that. I mean, it looks like it would have wrapped up in a perfectly normal spot to end the series. But I'm thinking, oh God, I hope not. I hope they continue it.
Yeah, as far as I know, there is going to be a season 3. And of course, we got the multiple spinoffs coming out with Rosario Dawson reprising her role as Ahsoka Tano. You have the Book of Boba Fett coming out with Tamora Morrison and Ming-Na Wen returning from their appearances previously on Mandalorian. By the way, The Mandalorian, Barb, with all due respect, this is the way. Because that show is just so good.
It is.
And takes Star Wars to new heights that we've never, ever seen before. It's set 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, and we've never seen that in a live-action setting. And as far as certain elements of Star Wars are concerned, we've never seen that. So the way that they're doing it, and obviously the merchandising, I'll admit it. I have some Black Series figures of Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, who didn't?
Who didn't? I got
Disney
no shame.
Waited so long to bring out the merch. I would go to conventions, and there would be Mandalorian merch everywhere, and it was all black market. People were just making bucks off of it right and left because Disney waited over a year to bring out any merch on it, so there was a void.
Yes, but with the figures that are out now, from the Black Series versions of these figures, great stuff. I got tons of them. Heck, I even got some figures that celebrate the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. Sorry again, Barb, for the years. But there's
okay. I have no problem being 62.
There's great figures out there, and obviously, what is it, the Child Grogu? That's selling like hotcakes everywhere you look, and obviously, the new figures are going to come out where you have, the dad bod version of Boba Fett, Tamora Morrison. You're going to have Ming-Na Wen's character is going to come out as a figure eventually at some point, and then obviously they're going to update the Mandalorian as they go forward. But by the way, Mandalorian just I just want more. I can't wait. And
Yeah,
someone
I
just
do
chimed
too.
in. Someone just chimed into the chat. Brian Wenslaw from Reels and Heels on HWS Web TV. Check him out. He says Mandalorian season 3 is going to debut in 2022.
Hey.
It's still a long way
I
off,
absolutely
Brian.
loved it. I absolutely loved The Mandalorian. So I was hoping that there would be a season 3. So
This is the way. I mean, full disclosure here, Barb. I just pre-ordered some Funko Pops, and 2 of them are Mandalorian centered. One of them is Tamora Morrison's version of Boba Fett shooting his blaster when he comes out, in the garb and the whole 9 and his armor and stuff like that. And the second one is Ahsoka Tano, aka Rosario Dawson's iteration of the character, holding her blades like this, holding her sabers, and I'm like, yes, give it to me. So
I don't know anything about Funko Pops.
No, you don't. You absolutely have no idea what a Funko Pop is. I'm just curious. Is that Tony Stark?
Yes.
I figured.
Yes. It's Tony Stark.
It is Tony Stark. There you go. See, there you go. So yeah, I pre-ordered some Star Wars Mandalorian Pop because just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
I know.
So thank you, merchandising. You've done your piece. You've done your job. Done your job.
I also have a 67 Impala. So.
Oh, that looks familiar. Brian, Nicole, are you watching this? Because Barb is holding a car that I think you hold very near and dear to your hearts.
Oh, huge Supernatural fan. Huge.
And that describes my good friends Brian Wensloff and his wife Nicole perfectly. Brian, I see you in the chat, buddy. I see you. Gee willikers. My goodness. Man, you've had so many amazing stories already, but I got to ask you this. When did you specifically decide to become a professional inker? How did that all start for you?
Oh, wow. I kind of came into it ass backwards. So it's an unusual story. I always painted, with acrylics, just for myself. I wasn't like a professional, but I did all right.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, I was a stay-at-home mom. And I don't know if anybody else out there feels like this, but when you're stuck at home constantly with a 1 and a 3-year-old, your brain dribbles out through your ears. You lose more brain cells every day because you can only take so much toddler babble before you start to liquefy. And so I was bored stiff, and I was trying to read everything I could get my hands on, which isn't hard for me to do. I have to read a couple hours a day anyway, or else I just petrify. And one day I walked into a Walden bookstore.
Oh yes.
And I found graphic novels on ElfQuest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and being a huge fantasy fan to begin with, this whole concept of a graphic novel just blew me away. I had no idea this type of thing existed. I mean, I knew comics, but the whole graphic novel genre.
Yes.
And it was big hardback books with this gorgeous slick paper. The art just leapt off the pages, and I was completely hooked. So I became this huge ElfQuest fan, and needing to get out of the house something desperately, I decided to screw up my nerve and go to my first ever science fiction convention. And that was in Chicago, WindyCon. And while I was there, I met other ElfQuest fans and got to corresponding with them back and forth. And I sent them some of my artwork, and I had done ElfQuest art. I painted it in acrylics. And the following year, it was like 1987 or something like that, 88, can't remember. We went back to this convention, and the guests there were the Peonies. And I was thrilled to meet them and everything. But one of my friends behind my back, her name was Jenny, she slipped him some of the artwork that I had done. And I didn't charge anything because that's copyright infringement. I just gave it away. I just did it for the fun of it and gave it to my friends. Oh. And she gave one of my painted pieces to them, and they rounded me up at the convention and said, would you be interested in working for us? We need somebody to paint a backdrop for our convention booth, and we would like you to do that. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, I'd love to. So that was my first professional job. I did this 3 foot by 3 foot acrylic backdrop for their convention booth. Yeah. And during the course of the, I don't know, 2 or 3 months it took me to do this painting, I'm looking at the black and whites that she had done, and like, why can't I take my paintbrushes and ink a comic book? And of course, I thought it was that easy, right? Oh, I'll just ink comic books for a living. And and my husband said, like, oh, it's a nice hobby. You go play with it. I'm like, okay. So in 1988, I packed up everything I thought was necessary to show off my art skills in a portfolio, which was about the size of a small VW bus, and hauled it to San Diego to show my portfolio to anybody who would look. And of course, it was entirely wrong. It was the portfolio had everything, including everything I'd done in high school. It was stupid.
Oh.
And I got just shredded, which I should have been. It was a horrible portfolio. It included everything that you shouldn't take in a portfolio. But I listened. I mean, I let them shred me. I didn't take it personally. It was what I should have heard. This is what you're doing wrong. Here's what you need to do. I went to seminars. I sat into a seminar with Dick Giordano. Oh my God, the stuff he presented in that seminar was just priceless. I wrote everything down like I was taking a finals test. And then I came home and I threw out that portfolio. I practiced inking for a year. And some of it was just months of making lines, just so to learn control over my instrument, which is a Winsor & Newton Series 7 at the time. Mm-hmm. I was old school with the brush. I can ink with a pen now, but I was an old school with a brush back then. And I just make circles and squiggly lines, and I try to make them all match. And diagonal, vertical, horizontal lines, just pages and pages and pages of that. And I would get pencil samples that you could send away for, and I would practice on them. I did this for a year. And I came back in 1989 and I sat down with Chris Alm, who was doing Adventure Comics at the time. And I presented a much more balanced portfolio. It had just 2 things in it, pencil samples and the corresponding ink samples instead of everything. Okay. And I got hired. I got hired to do Robotech, Tiger X. And he says, can you also do gray washes? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. No idea what gray washes were. Didn't even have, I just lied, fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. And came home, ran to the library, started reading up on what are gray washes. Oh, it's okay. It's watercolor. I've never done watercolor before, but I did acrylics. Well, how different can it be? A lot. But I did it. And they hired me to do another issue, so must have done something right. And I did a couple issues of that. And then he says, well, how about, would you be interested in inking Planet of the Apes? I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So I inked 11 issues of Planet of the Apes for Adventure Comics. And from there, I jumped to Malibu and did all of their superheroes. I did all of their issues of Solitaire, Solutions, Strangers, Mantra, Prime. Oh God, I can't even remember all of them. I did as much as they would throw me. Mm-hmm. And I never claimed to be the best inker in the world. I'm a good inker, but I'm solid. I'm dependable. I've never missed a deadline in my entire 30 plus year career. And that made me employable. And from Malibu, then I went to Innovation, and I was working for Innovation at the same time I was working for Malibu. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was working for 4 different companies at the same time at one point. And at Innovation, I became like the queen of the contracted movie adaptations. I did Child's Play. I did Freddy's Dead. I can't remember. I did Lost in Space. I did a Lawnmower Man movie that never got. I never did get to see that in print because did an entire 64-page graphic novel with Stuart Immonen for the Lawnmower Man, Stephen King's Lawnmower Man.
That's what I was trying to put my finger on. I was like, why does Lawnmower Man sound sort of kind of familiar? Where's that from again? Oh yeah, Stephen King, because Stephen King is all about the weird and crazy. He's all about the weird and crazy.
The thing is, it was completed and ready to go to print, colored, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen King's lawyers came in and killed it. So it never saw print. Because he hated the movie adaptation of Lawnmower Man, and he refused to see it in print. So I was working for Malibu. I was working for Innovation. I was also working for Now Comics, doing stuff like Married with Children and The Twilight Zone and
Married with Children.
Yes. And Speed Racer.
I remember watching the reruns of that cartoon when I was a kid.
Yeah. And somewhere along the way, DC picked me up. And I worked for them for many years. I did all the issues of Primal Force. I spent 2.5 years on Impulse.
Oh.
I did Hawkman for them, Green Lantern. And while I was working for them, I also got work with Marvel. But the only thing they would give me was female-related books like Barbie or She-Hulk or Disney Gargoyles, stuff like that.
Gargoyles was a big thing for us 90s kids.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
But I still enjoyed working on Barbie. It's a lot more difficult than you would think, because Mattel was super, super protective of their property. And you would say, oh yeah, Barbie's should be a piece of cake. It's very simple lines, not a lot of shading, but they went over every single panel of those books with a fine-tooth comb. And it's like, oh, sorry, you got to fix this one. Barbie's only got 3 eyelashes. You got,
3, 4. What's the difference? So I take it Mattel was trying to be perfectionist in a way.
Yeah, they were very paranoid about how the image that they projected. Well, I'm sorry. I know that this scene is supposed to be talking about a sad issue, but Barbie can never frown. Okay, so she's smiling while she's crying. Okay, that's good. It's so
bit odd, but I get it. Did you like her iteration of the character in the Toy Story movies? Because I thought that was hilarious.
Yes, I did. Anything that makes. I don't get me wrong. I enjoy doing the Barbie books for Marvel, and yeah, looking back on it now, I'm very appreciative of it, because I can take Barbie books that I've worked on to conventions and they will fly off my shelf.
Oh, really?
Off my table. And if you look and you think about it, a lot of times that book is a jumping in spot for a lot of girls, to get into comics. It's their gateway into comics. They're little girls, they read Barbie and then they want a different comic book. So I'm more appreciative of working on it now than I was at the time, being disgruntled because I couldn't get, real superheroes out of Marvel when I was getting them over at DC. But I have to look at it a bit more philosophically now, that I was part of getting little girls into reading comics. So that helps. And then around the year 2000, the big speculators boom came to an end, and there was a big implosion, and work became scarce. So I went back to working in the Muggle world, but I did comics on the side. And when I retired, or I went down to part-time for a while, I jumped back in with Roland Mann and Dean Zachary and myself. We started SilverLine 3.0. SilverLine's had a couple of previous iterations. And we brought back Cat and Mouse, which was a very popular series back in the 80s, 90s. We brought it back, and that was really popular. And we were just doing it for ourselves, basically, because we wanted to bring it back. But more creators started coming to us and says, well, I have an idea for a book. I was like, okay. So we'd bring them in, and it started to steamroll from that point. So now we've got an incredibly huge stable of creators under the SilverLine banner that are putting out some extremely good books. And we've got so many books, in fact, that we have to do 2 Kickstarters together, or a Kickstarter, 2 books in each Kickstarter to get them all out. And even then, we're not doing them fast enough. So we're going to have to get into the direct market really soon. So we've got too many books in the pipeline to do two every Kickstarter, or we'd have to do a Kickstarter every month or something like that. And then that's just not feasible. So we're going to have to look at going to the direct market. Mm-hmm. So I was working on Cat and Mouse, and about 3 years ago, my brother was diagnosed with metastatic lung cancer. Oh. And I don't know if you've known anybody who's really, really sick, that you really love, but you get kind of desperate, you know. You get kind of weird about wanting to help them, and you would pretty much do anything to help them. And about a month after he was diagnosed, mm-hmm. I had this dream, and divinity came to me completely, fully realized this book where I had a character who was a little girl who could heal. And that was the good side of my subconscious, my protagonist who wanted to heal. And then there was this evil cabal who would do anything to get their hands on him, mm-hmm. on her, to use her to her own ends. And that was the not so healthy part of me who was desperate to heal my brother. Mm-hmm. And that became my antagonist. And this book came out of this desire to help my brother. And I wish there would have been a divinity in real life, because my brother passed away. But from that came a book that has really, really touched a lot of people that I didn't expect it to touch. And it has actually won an award for the Best New Series of 2020 from the Independent Creators Awards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was really, really happy about that. So here, all of a sudden, I turned 60, and I was not only an inker, but I was a writer, and I learned how to color. So I'm really pushing the envelope now that I'm retired and I am doing what I love to do. I've decided if I'm going to do all of this, I better get on the ball and do it, because life, as has been proven, life is short, and you got to start reaching for the stars when you have the chance. So I'm writing, I'm coloring, I'm inking, I'm also the CFO of SilverLine, and I'm having the time of my life doing all of this. So right now we're running a Kickstarter. I don't know if it's going to be in your tags or anything like that, but Divinity is an 11-year-old girl who has had a near-death experience. She's developed mysterious healing powers before, and she is the only one in the book that's ever going to have any kind of powers. I have done 5,000 pages of superheroes. Okay. So I wanted to go in a different direction. Mm-hmm. And everything that happens in our world. And trust me, there's plenty of villains in real life that I didn't need to create any. You know, think about who would be willing to get their hands on somebody who could heal. You would have dictators, you would have mob bosses, you would have pharmaceutical companies who don't want her to do this. You would have government, black ops, you would have think tanks, you would have scientists wanting to dissect her, you would have religious fanatics who would either see her as a messiah-like figure or the devil. You know, the possibilities are endless. So her parents die under mysterious circumstances. And her older brother, whom she barely knows, he's 26, he's in the Marines, so he's been
Zach.
Mm-hmm. He's been absent for most of her formative years. She barely knows him. He comes home once in a while, and all of a sudden he is in charge of this tween girl, which is a 26-year-old Marine who's always had the Marine type of order, who wants to say, you jump, and have Divinity say, how high? And she says, I hate you instead. I don't know if how many people out there have had tweener and teenage girls, but they're a handful. Oh my God. And you put them with somebody who's authoritarian and it's like water and oil. It's not going to work. So we've got these two characters who really don't know each other, but they have to become a family. And they're on the run from evil people.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zach and Vinny is what we call her. Zach and Vinny are on the run, and he reaches out to another another ex-Marine buddy of his, Olivia Barnes, and she joins the group. And this is our three people, our three mains that are in the book. And they have to go on the run and keep this little girl safe from all the crazies in the world. And that's the basis of the book.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, to tell you the truth here, Barb, when it comes to Divinity, I had a chance to read issue number 1. And I got to say, I've read some, granted, I became a comic book fan a little bit later in my life. I didn't start reading comics until Batman Day 2017. Speaking of DC, just saying, went to my local comic book store and then I got hooked ever since. I've read some comics thus far in my, I've only been a comic book fan for 4 years, so I'm still learning, guys. I'm still learning. I've read some stuff and I've enjoyed them, but your story with Divinity is truly extraordinary. I really, really like how it looks. I like how you get a sense of who these characters are, why they're trying to do what they're doing, their motivations and their flaws, and how they're trying to, they may not know each other very well, but they have to team up because she has this gift. And the brother, Zach wants to make sure that no one knows about it or keeps her secret or tries to make sure she doesn't get captured by people who want to use her abilities for, personal gain and things of that nature. So I got to say, after reading issue number 1, and it ends on a cliffhanger, I'll admit it, because, as you said, the new Kickstarter is up right now. You're going into, book number 2, issue number 2. I really like it. I really, really, really like it because all of us can relate to that, where we're at a point in our lives where we're potentially going to lose someone we really care about. We want to save them from that pain, from that suffering, all that kind of stuff. And when you have somebody who has a gift like that, I'm getting, not to say that it's exactly like these other characters in other stories. I'm just saying that it kind of reminds me a little bit of X-Men, a little bit of Firestarter from, speaking of, Stephen King, Firestarter with Drew Barrymore. Granted, the film's not very good. No offense, Drew. But, you have that going on. You have different elements of other things that I've seen or read or seen on television. But I really like where this is going. And I truly wish you guys the best of luck with Divinity number 2 because I want to see the story continue for as long as it takes because the first issue just hooked me. Very, very good stuff.
Oh, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I know somebody else said the same thing. That was Maggie Thompson, the great Maggie Thompson. So I was very, very much... And Kevin Van Hook, who created Bloodshot, with Vin Diesel, he's also another one who got really hooked on it. So I was very pleased with his review on it too. The Kickstarter's over tomorrow night, and we're really, really pushing to get over 7,000 on it. So if you guys have a chance to hop on over there, please do. This means a lot to me. Obviously, the other book that is kickstarting with me is called Steam Patriots.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah, and that one I'm looking forward to that one because I love history, and it's a fresh take on the whole steampunk thing, where we always think of steampunk being in the Victorian era, but it had to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, basically.
So we take it back to the Revolution. He takes it back to the Revolutionary War period, where it's the beginning of steampunk. So it's very raw. Lots of explosions because nobody knows what the hell they're doing. The boilers blow up and lots of smoke. But it had to start somewhere. So he's taking it back to the Revolutionary War. And I'm looking forward to that one too. So I think we have 2 extremely excellent books that are kickstarting right now.
Yeah, and we'll definitely plug that in our social media. I'll plug it on my page because I do want to see what happens next with Divinity. And Steam Patriots is a bit of a, as in the words of Mr. Spock, fascinating.
Yes.
I want to see. I had to do it for you there, Barb. I had to do it. And I actually just recently, full disclosure, I recently became a Star Trek fan because, granted, I'm a bit younger than some people, and I went back and I watched all the Star Trek movies, and I really enjoyed a couple of them. Especially, I have a poster of it on my wall here. I have Star Trek First Contact on my wall because I love Picard, and who doesn't love Patrick Stewart? For Pete's sake, the man's a gift.
Yep.
So I love First Contact, and then I became a Star Trek fan. So yeah, anything in that kind of realm, I just had to give it. I had to show respect. I may have grew up on the wars and not the Trek, but that doesn't mean you can't. You can like both.
That's right. I do. I will consume anything that starts with star.
That's a valid point. I probably would do the same thing because I probably have 1 or 2 books on my Amazon list that start with the word star, or something that involves space travel, outer space, sci-fi, whatever, fantasy. You know what I'm talking about. So,
my husband is not much of a science fiction geek, but anything that has to do with alien invasions, man, he's there. He loves that sort of thing.
There you go. I actually granted, I've seen the original. Just to give you a little bit of backstory here, I've seen the original Alien, but I haven't seen Aliens or Alien 3 or Alien 4, and I wanted to watch them all. So I watched Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. I gotta say, Aliens is my favorite. Aliens is fantastic.
Well, now, Chris Pratt has got a new movie coming out on Amazon Prime called The Tomorrow War, and it's about an alien invasion. It's like, oh yeah, we are so watching it. So
yeah, I think I saw an ad for that somewhere. That looks pretty. That looks kind of cool too. I should probably look into that. The Tomorrow War.
Yep. Anything with aliens coming to Earth, we're all over that. We just love that. I don't know why.
I should probably look into that. Quick sidebar question before I move on to the next question here. Have you seen Falling Skies?
Yes, loved it.
That was a good show too back in the 2000s.
Ended too soon.
Yeah, I think it was only on for 4 seasons, and then they just kind of clipped it out.
Yeah, it
unfortunately.
Didn't end. Yeah, it didn't end in a very satisfactory note. So I guess we saw every episode, loved it. Noah Wyle.
Yes, Noah Wyle. Dr. Carter from ER. Yes, yep. I remember ER as well, folks. I grew up on a few episodes of that. Actually, I watched the last 3 or 4 seasons of that show when they originally aired on the network, and then I went back and they have reruns on Pop now. You can have their reruns on Pop, so you can, if you want to catch up on ER, check your local listings. Sorry, I sound like a walking billboard, but yeah, Falling Skies was good. Moon Bloodgood played his love interest in that series, and Moon Bloodgood. Let me tell you something about Moon Bloodgood. Not only is she drop dead gorgeous, full disclosure, but she's a really good actress too. I remember her on the rebooted series of Journeyman. Journeyman only lasted 1 season. I thought that got the short end of the stick. That was a great show, network executives.
Yes, I've also watched both iterations of Battlestar Galactica, the original. I liked Dirk Benedict as Starbuck.
Noah Hathaway, aka Atreyu.
Yes.
Speaking of fantasy there, Barb, speaking of fantasy, I grew up like many of us on the Never-Ending Story, and yes, I still like it to this day. Yes, the theme song is still cool. I don't care what you haters say. And also, I had the pleasure of meeting Noah Hathaway and Alan Oppenheimer, the voice of Falkor, the Rockbiter, Skeletor from He-Man, all that stuff. Great people at conventions, ladies and gentlemen. You never know what kind of legends you're going to meet at conventions. And I met Atreyu and Falkor. How many people can say that?
That is awesome.
Can say that.
That is awesome. I loved all those cheesy old movies like that. Labyrinth. Oh, yeah.
Jennifer Connelly. Anybody?
Yes. I mean, how beautiful was she in that movie?
She's hardly aged.
Oh no, not
in
at
a way.
all.
I mean, she was good in Labyrinth. I remember her best as the love interest to Cliff Secord in The Rocketeer.
Yes.
In
The
91.
Rocketeer was awesome.
Was that 91? I think it was 91. Hey, happy 30th birthday there, Rocketeer. We'll have to have a live watch along for you later this year. Gosh, we're getting too young for this. So Jennifer Connelly was in that. She was a love interest in, granted, this was the bad version of the Hulk, Ang Lee's Hulk, but you know what? She was cast pretty well as Betty Ross.
Anything that, it was worth watching just for her, you know.
Yeah, she would. Hey, Jennifer Connelly is Jennifer Connelly. I got no shame. Career Opportunities with Frank Whaley. There's another movie she was in.
Yeah, I mean, I've got certain guys that I will watch their movies no matter what it is, even if it's horrible movies. I watched Dirk Benedict in Hiss.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, it was a horrible little cheesy movie about snakes, But
I mean,
he was in it.
I never even heard of that. I mean, I know snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? But
Yeah, you'll have to Google it. Hiss.
Hiss?
Wasn't it? Yeah, with lots of S's. That was the
Lots
name
of
of
S's at the end of the sentence. If anyone else knows about this movie, let us know in the chat. I'd like to hear about it. So next thing for you here, Barb, what would you say are some of the rewards of being an inker or writer?
The rewards of being an inker is I don't have all the responsibility of being the writer. I just ink what's there. No, I don't. And for those who are thinking about Kevin Smith in a,
oh boy,
I'm not a tracer. When I say I ink, I just ink what's there. No, it's the idea is fully realized. The pencils are down. It's not my responsibility to worry whether it's a good story or not. I'm hired to ink the book. That's the best part about being the inker. All the there's responsibility to make the book look good, to bring your best effort to the artwork, but whether it fails or succeeds on the story is not my responsibility. The rewards of being a writer, other than having all of this, the creator and the writer. I don't script it. I am not a scripter. I've only scripted one story in my life, and that was a 6-page ElfQuest story way back in the 90s.
Right.
So I wasn't very good at scripting. So I brought in help, and I brought in an old veteran, R.A. Jones, who is not only a comic book legend, but he is an author in real life. Amazon books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he scripts the stories for me. So I created it. I laid out all the background and the outlines, and here's what this issue is going to be about, and then he scripts it for me. But the story itself has to have a solid basis, so it's got to be good. And I not only have brought in a scripter, but then I've got a penciler and a letterer. I ink and color it, so there's that.
Yeah.
But I am responsible for these people. So it's on me to make sure that this book succeeds, so to make them happy. I'm more concerned with my creative team than myself, because I have to talk them into coming on and doing this on the backsides. That's one thing about SilverLine, is that we produce the books first and then Kickstarter. They're completely finished. We're not doing any of this on well, you pay us the money and then we'll get started on it. No, the books are completely finished. All they have to do is have the thank you page written up and go to the printer.
Right.
So you're basically just buying the book. But that means that all the artists involved are doing it up front. And that's a heavy responsibility to make sure that my team is compensated for the hard work that they put in. So if it's not a good book and it fails, then I have disappointed people. And I'm much more concerned with making everybody happy, my readers, my team, my company, than I am about myself. It's a heavy duty responsibility.
Yeah. When I think of responsibility, I remember what my Uncle Ben taught us 20 years ago in the first movie. He says, with great power comes great responsibility. I know, seriously. I just keep thinking of that all the time. And by the way, that movie just turned a healthy 19 this year. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie. And that's one of the best theater experiences I've ever had in my life. But on the flip side of things here, Barb, what would you say are some of the challenges of being an inker?
The challenges of being an inker is trying to keep true to the original pencils without, one thing, screwing them up, but the other thing is that without drowning it in your own personality. Now, there are a lot of inkers out there who like to put their individual stamp on the books, and that's fine to a certain extent, but I want to promote the penciler as much as myself. So I don't want to drown out the penciler's personality. If he needs help, obviously, definitely, that's my job, to bring it to life, to give it gravity, to give it weight, to embellish it to the best of my ability, but without losing his underlying personality in his pencils.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And we're talking with Barb Kaalberg, a professional inker and storyteller of SilverLine Comics. If you have any questions for her, leave them in the live chat, leave them in the comments. We're going to get to those in just a moment. But first, Barb, another question for you. Any other, I should say, special memories from being at conventions or other events, whether you're a guest or an attendee?
Well, let me see. One year in San Diego, I got mugged.
Oh, no. No.
It actually turned out to be another year I got my room broken into and everything stolen, and that turned out to be one of my best memories.
What? I am so sorry that these events occurred and happened to you. I'm very sorry to hear that.
No, but that one actually turned out really well. Somebody broke into my room and at the U.S. Grant at San Diego, which was, a crappy little hotel. But they comped me for the rest of my stay, which is good. Oh, and then the word got out that this had happened to me. And for the rest of the convention, I had more offers to take me out to dinner, to feed me, to do everything for me than I could possibly take up on. Maggie Thompson took me out for breakfast every morning. DC Marvel took me out to supper, with their editorial staff. Mobius did a sketch of my face and gave it to me for free. The benefits far outweighed the bad. So, everybody, it was a community. They all came together. Everybody was so helpful and so generous that it turned out to be an extremely good experience.
Oh my goodness gracious, man. And SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, is the WrestleMania. It's the World Series of conventions. And unfortunately, you had some incidents happen to you that, gee willikers, man, I hope things are better when I go there in a year or two, when Earth fully reopens. Jeez.
Let me see, another good experience. One year I went out to New York Comic-Con.
Oh, yes.
And
Big Fish.
yeah, it was in February. And there was this massive blizzard.
Oh, boy.
And
it's not good.
No, this is a good story, too.
Well, weather-wise, to be caught in a blizzard is never fun.
Well, in New York too, and don't forget, I'm a Midwestern girl, so I'm used to a lot of snow. But in New York, when it comes down, there's no place for it to go. It just piles up in between the skyscrapers. Oh, and they have to come in. They have to come in with dump trucks and load these dump trucks up and take the snow and dump it into the East River.
Oh, wow!
So it takes a while, and it was like 6 inches of snow in the street. So there was nothing driving. And a group of my friends and I decided that we were going to walk down to Greenwich Village and take in some of the jazz bars that night because nothing was running. Everything was closed. Right. We were at the Javits Center. So I was dressed a little bit more professionally. I wasn't ready for the snow. So I said, all right, you guys, I have to change first. So we all came up to my hotel room. And I went into the bathroom to change while my friends were waiting for me. And one of them was Bernie Wrightson. And I had just purchased that day the unpublished Frankenstein pages. It was a compilation book of the works that did not make it into the original Frankenstein book.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so I came out of the bathroom. I was changed. We went out. We went to listen to jazz all evening. We partied and stuff like that. And it wasn't until after I had gotten home and was unpacking and I took out this book and I opened it up, and there on the inside page, he had written this entire letter and signed it on the interior that I didn't know he had done while I was in the bathroom changing. So I have this lovely, lovely letter on the inside cover of that book from Bernie Wrightson. And that was a very good memory. He was a very good friend.
Wow, that is true. That is truly extraordinary. My goodness gracious. Now, when Earth eventually fully reopens and cons are back in the swing of things. Now, granted, some conventions are already opening up. Some people have gone. People have been guests. I mean, your good friend, the 21-year-old who is older than he looks, Roland Mann, and his team are at a convention right now, and he's living it up. So, Roland, have fun, but be safe at the same time. But when Earth fully reopens and conventions are a thing again, which I hope they are, because conventions are one of the best things since sliced bread, Barb. I'm not going to argue that. Is there anyone you hope to meet or work with moving into the future?
Moving into the future.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, pre-COVID, in 2020, I had 2 conventions a month scheduled every month for the entire year, and they all got canceled because of COVID. So I'm just now starting to put together some possibles, and I have to take care of my brother's estate before I can make any plans for conventions. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to a few of them. I'd like to work with Mel Ruby again. I love his pencils. I would love to work with Howard Porter again. I used to work with Amanda Connor on the Barbie books before she became so big. I mean, that's where she started out on the Barbie books, and I'd like to work with her again. Derek Robertson, I'd like to work with him again. He's so big in The Boys now. That was The Boys on Amazon.
Oh, yes, with Dredd himself, Carl Urban. Speaking of Middle-earth, Carl Urban has been everywhere when it comes to the geek universe in his career.
Yes, and now Jensen Ackles from Supernatural is joining the cast.
Oh, really? I was not aware of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's coming in as Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy, and isn't he? I believe this is coming out, if not now, very, very soon. The adaptation, the DC animated film, The Long Halloween, he's going to be voicing Batman like he did the Red Hood.
That's true. Yep.
So,
yep.
Jensen, keeping yourself busy there, buddy boy?
Yep. I keep track of the cast just because I'm such a fan of Supernatural.
Do you? I'm just curious. Quick sidebar here for Supernatural. Did you participate in the T-shirt campaign that Jared Padalecki was doing called Always Keep Fighting?
I did not, but I appreciate that he does that because I and some of my family have struggled with depression for a long time, and I came in late to that.
Sure.
After it was already over, but yes, I really, really like the fact that he's been very, very open about his struggle. More celebrities need to be open about their struggle with mental health because it takes away the stigma. You know, I've struggled with it my entire life, and my daughter is even worse than I am. She was born with it. She started seeing a psychiatrist when she was 4 years old. For me, it's genetic. It runs in the family. So I appreciate the fact that that he is demystifying it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In the beginning of his campaign, it had him on the shirt and it had the words "Always Keep Fighting." I did participate in that. I donated and I got the shirt. So that was, and I still have it. I may not be wearing it right now. It's in my wardrobe, but I do have "Always Keep Fighting." And Jared, thanks for everything you do, buddy. And, you know, it's ironic that he ends up, you know, someone he worked with on the set of Supernatural becomes his wife, Genevieve Cortez at the time. And now she's Genevieve Padalecki.
Ruby.
I remember her, well, not only as Ruby, but I remember her best when she was starting up in the business on Wildfire on ABC Family. She was the lead star.
Yes.
Of ABC Family's Wildfire as the jockey Christopher Willow. And I'm thinking to myself, Genevieve, girl, you kick it on Wildfire for 3-4 seasons. I forget the exact number of seasons. Please forgive me. And then she jumps ship over to Supernatural because she needs a new job. And I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. You go from playing a hero to a possessed demon. Ooh, boy, this is interesting. I don't want to root for you, but at the same time, I can't help but.
And now she's on Walker.
Yeah, yes. Granted, she's not really a regular. She's more of a recurring guest star as the ghost or the voice of
Emily Walker.
Yes, of Walker's unfortunately, dead wife, because the series is founded on that she was murdered, and Walker's trying to find out what happened to her exactly. So,
yes,
my gosh,
another series I'm watching now.
Oh, you are watching it? Okay, because I watched a few episodes and I kind of had to put it to the side, but I do like the cast because I forget her name, but his co-star who plays the other Texas Ranger, she played Raven Ramirez on CW's The 100, which was a great, underrated, dystopian, post-apocalyptic series that everybody should be watching. If you haven't seen it, stream the heck out of it on Netflix because it's one of the best shows ever made. Just saying. If I ever meet the cast at Comic-Con, I will do a Wayne's World, we're not worthy, because they are so good and that cast is rocking it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to get on the pedestal there for the 100.
It's on my to-watch list.
To please, binge watch. Barb, watch the heck out of it. You're going to love it.
I have also never seen Game of Thrones yet.
Neither have I. I just know it's the show where everybody dies in the end.
Yes. Hey, guess what? The Titanic sinks.
Yes. No, seriously, it's like everyone dies at the end. Everyone dies at the end of Game of Thrones, or at least that's what I've been told. But I haven't seen the series yet, so please don't hold me to that and don't quote me on it. But anyhow, G. Willikers. Man, so many great series, so many great books. Some people have chimed in here with not as few questions, but more like comments and giving you some cred here. Brian says that Demon in the Bottle was the best Iron Man comic. Are you familiar with that one?
Yep, it's where he's got a drinking addiction, and he has to kick his alcoholism.
There you go. And Willow Schuyler, the host of Willow's Pillow Talk, she says, Barb, you and I think very much alike.
Yay! Yay, Willow. I love the name too. That's great, Willow.
Yep.
Speaking of, that's another movie I watched way back when, Willow.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that she just reminded me with it was story about little people.
And Brian is agreeing with your assessment on the one and only Tom Holland. He says Tom Holland pulls off Peter Pan as well as Spider-Man perfectly, according to Brian.
I think so too. I mean, I like the other ones, but he just edges them out. He embodies Peter Parker, I think, to the nth degree.
Yep, that's excuse me. That's very true. Garrett from HWSY TV says, "Hello, Barb and Ryan."
Garrett.
Garrett, how you doing, buddy? You know Garrett?
Nope.
Oh, he's a very nice gentleman. You like him a lot. Brian talked about Mandalorian earlier on. Brian says, "I'm sorry, Ryan, about your Funko Pop obsession." Well, that's because, Brian, that's because you buy too much and then you run out of money. But then somehow, some way, the following week, you're still able to buy 50 more Funko Pops, and your wife is still allowing you to do this. So I don't know what goes on in your family, Brian. So that's on you. Jeez, people with Funkos. Just out of curiosity, though, Barb, if you don't mind me asking, do you have an inventory of how many Funko Pops that you currently own?
Yeah, one.
Oh, that you only have the one, huh?
No, I have one. Other ones I want to get, but I haven't been to a convention lately because of COVID.
But they're online retailers.
I know, but I can usually trade stuff for them at conventions.
Work some of your Jedi mind tricks on people. I see what you did there. And Willow continues to give you so much cred. She says, Barb, you and I think so much alike, we might have to have a geek out session on my show known as Willow's Pillow Talk very soon. Are you up for that, Barb?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Willow, there you go. The signal has been given. The bad signal because I'm Batman. The gauntlet has been dropped. Get in touch with Barb and she'd be more than happy to be on your show. That is awesome-tacular there, Willow. Good stuff. Well, Barb, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for being with us this week on And I Quote. It was truly a treasure hearing you share your stories, your knowledge, your love of all things comic book or books, words on a page, word to the wise, aka The Lord of the Rings, which, don't get me wrong, Barb, I'll add it to my to-do list and read those 3 or 4 books before I croak. So I'll do my best to do you a solid.
Okay.
Moving forward. You know what they say, Barb? If you build it,
they will come.
So, yes. You almost said they. I know people say they, but the actual line from the movie is, if you build it, he will come. Sorry, I don't mean to be that kind of person, but when you watch a movie once or twice and the whole script goes right up in your noggin, you tend to remember the entirety of a script.
Here's another series you need to read. It's the Belgariad.
I actually never heard of that. Can you describe it for us?
It's another fantasy series where the guy discovers he has magical powers and he becomes king eventually. So, it's the quest type of thing and he has to prove himself and everything like that. But it's very, very good. Finds a girlfriend, has a mentor. I like those type of stories. What can I say? High fantasy.
High fantasy. It's okay. If they have familiar elements within a story, it's going to draw you to it.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, every story's been told once, but it depends on how you tell it. I mean, my story isn't anything new. It's just how you put it together.
That is a fair point. I am not gonna argue that. A little bit of fun for you here, Barb. What is something that you hate but you wish that you loved?
Something that I hate that I wished I loved. God, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Sushi. I'm trying to think of a book, or a series, but I can't. I'll have to go with food. Sushi. I wish I liked sushi.
Sushi. All right, we can roll with that. That's no problem at all. Now, the other thing about this is, would you rather be the most popular kid in school or the smartest kid in school?
Smartest, by far.
Going with smartest, huh?
Yep. I'm going to go with smartest.
No
doubt about it. You can be popular and stupid, and I'd rather be unpopular and smart. I mean, I used to know a lot more than I do now. Yeah, I've lost some brain cells along the way. But my memory is getting really, really bad. It's like, oh, you remember that movie with, now I can't remember who it was. Yeah, that happens to me a lot now. So I appreciate brains more than popularity at this point in my life.
All good. No worries. Once again, we want to thank Barb Kaalberg for being with us on this week's episode of And I Quote. Barb, where can everyone find you on social media and all the projects you have coming up? Well, fortunately, I am the only Barbara Kaalberg on the internet. So if you know how to spell my last name, which is Kaalberg, you can find me anywhere. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, DeviantArt, where I have my online portfolio, and about 25,000 other pages. So it's not hard to track me down. Well, that is awesome, spectacular. And thank you very much for being with us. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. You can find me and everything that we're doing here on all forms of social media at It's Nerd Culture. New videos are being dropped on our YouTube channel each and every week. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. We are this close to 500 subscribers. Are you going to be the 500th? Are you going to be the 501st? It's up to you. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, ring that bell so you'll be notified when new videos go up on our channel. If you're wondering, where did that question about would you rather be the smartest or the most popular kid in school came from? I'll tell you where it came from. This episode of And I Quote and every episode of And I Quote is powered by Poddex. Poddex are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your own hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com. Use promo code NERDCULTURE to get 10% off your order. You are not going to want to miss it. But in the meantime, to all of you out there, thank you for joining us. And remember, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and most importantly, read comics. Take care, everyone.
Welcome, Glasscock Park, to this glorious day!
Today is your lucky day. We got some great stuff. This is Glasscock Park.
Marvelous!
Thank you.
Come on, let's go! I don't have all day, people!
Now, it's time.
Tell your friends, huh?
I'm GW Amateur.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
I'm Brava.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million, and 10 million, and 100 million.
On HWWS
Web TV.
You really like it. I guarantee it.
Thank you.